Welcome to Made in Alpharetta, the only podcast dedicated to showcasing what makes Alpharetta so awesome. Today's show is brought to you by the Alpharetta Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm your host, Kathleen Sturgeon. I'm an Alpharetta girl, and I look forward to highlighting everything that makes Alpharetta exciting and unique. And for this inaugural show, I have found something very cool that is local, nearby. It is the MiniMe Factory right here in Alpharetta, and joining me in the studio is Reza Nourali. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You are the founder of the MiniMe Factory?
That is correct.
When did it get started?
Well, the initial idea came to me as a couple of years ago when I was looking to make an action figure of myself. And to make a long story short, I wasn't quite happy with what's available on the market. You know, I looked at different varieties and came across a company in Europe that was beta testing this technology of 3D printing people. So making a long story short, I looked into that and traveled over to Europe and worked with a company over there during the beta testing, the process, and found it to be very cool because, I mean, the way it comes out, it is so realistic that just the only way to describe it is the wow effect that you get when you actually get to hold yourself. So that is where it initially started, the search for it. And then later on, of course, I found out that there are so little known about this technology, and there is literally no company or studio here in the United States pursuing this. So that gave me the business idea of having that started.
Yeah. And so when you showed up here today to talk to me, you pulled out the figurine of yourself.
I have my MiniMe sitting here on a table, and as you can see, the details are incredibly mind-blowing. I mean, you can see the little creases on my jeans, you can see a little, fold and everything on my clothing, just as realistic as possible.
Yeah, it does. It does look like you. So do you carry that around with you?
Yes,
everywhere?
this one is my demo. So that's my 5-inch version of me that I carry in my bag with me.
That's pretty cool. Yes. Do you just kind of like whip that out at parties? Like, hey,
yes.
Guess what?
I mean, that's the best way to describe the business because the concept is so brand new. I mean, people can't believe that this technology exists. So, the easiest way is just for me to pull one out. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what better way to show it than literally show it?
Yeah.
So what do people do when they come to get themselves 3D'd?
Well, the process for the customer is the first process is basically for them to get captured using our 3D 360 capturing system. So once they come into our studio, we have an array of cameras set up, which consists of 100 cameras, high resolution. So the person will hold their pose for about 3 to 4 seconds, and the camera system captures one snapshot consisting of 200 images simultaneously. So all those images are eventually rendered into one perfect quality, high resolution image that is 3D editable. So we work with that image in order to make it printable and then print it using a full color 3D printer. And what's really interesting about the entire project is from the 3D editing portion to the printing, which is the 3D printing part of it is actually, it's called a 3D color infusion technology. What that means, there is no painting in terms of no one is painting or penciling the figurines. The coloring is infused into the material as they're being manufactured.
So do you guys do... Is figurines the right word to?
Yes.
Okay. Would you call it
statute or figurines? The both will do.
And so, do you only do it of people?
Our machine or the capturing system, the way it's designed, the cameras are pre-focused for human heights and larger pets. We have done many, dogs. We worked with the police department in Alpharetta. We've captured the canine dogs.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so larger dogs, no problem. Smaller animals and pets, as long as a subject taller than 3 feet is standing with them, the system is able to decipher and capture that properly. So if you have a small pet, that you're holding in your arms, that's not a problem whatsoever. So there are some minimum requirement in terms of volume and height that needs to be met in order for the system to be able to capture properly.
Yeah. And is this state of the art equipment? Because I mean, it's pretty detailed.
Yes, the technology is called photogrammetry, which is a combination of standard digital capture and scanning. And by scanning, we don't mean really, and it's not like an X-ray scanning. It's in scanning just like a copier, just like a photocopy machine. So basically, the system reflects a light, a standard flashlight on the subject as it's being captured. What it does, that light measures the subject standing inside our capturing unit, which we call the MiniMe dome. And so at the same time, the subject being captured, it's also being scaled at the same time. So the system knows the measurements in order to be able to replicate that for the work to be done.
That's fascinating.
So the scaling is is very precise.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not just shrinking you, based on, there is actually a formula that goes in order to shrink you based on the selected size.
So they're all unique to the person.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
And I'll just give you like an insider information. So for instance, this is a 5-inch unit, so it's a scaling of 1 to 12, meaning everything on me here is shrunk 12 times. So if I measure my shoes, it is precisely 1/12 of my shoes. So
wow.
the sizing is very precise, yes.
So it's very accurate.
Yes, absolutely.
That's really cool because I think when I thought about this, it's like you kind of have models or, like set examples and then you just kind of like paint on the details or something.
Right.
But it's not really totally accurate. It just kind of looks like you. But this
right.
is very, precise. That's a good word for it. Yeah. And so what reactions have you had from people?
Oh, many. Mostly they're absolutely amazed. Anyone that walks by or hears about our concept, it's kind of hard for them to believe at first, but once they come in and see real people, real pets, everyone that we've captured so far, we have a good assortment of variety of people that we've captured. We've captured a lot of police officers, firefighters, and we have a good range of models inside our studio. We do a lot of bride and groom. That's a very top seller. We have people traveling from very far distances to come in just to do their wedding cake toppers, because that's one of our top sellers. You can imagine having yourself, the bride and groom, being on the top of the cake as the cake topper. That's an absolutely unique experience that no one has had the option to do before. So that's one of the big sellers. And we also have, especially during holidays, grandparents or parents bringing their kids and getting that captured and sending it off to their loved ones as a surprise. That's a big one. And just kids or grown-ups wanting to capture themselves either in realistic form or in an action hero type of form. It's just something that offers something for everyone, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of like when they talk about having diversity in movies, then it's like you can see yourself in the movie, but here it's
Yes.
like you actually can see yourself
Absolutely,
as an action
yes.
figure or
Yep.
whatever you want. That's cool. So what do people use it for? Specifically, you keep mentioning the police. What do they use theirs for?
Well, I just think, for uniform people, it looks especially really cool because, the uniform itself, and, we've had police officers with their complete gears coming in, so if you look on our website, we have a few of them snapshot in our gallery. Just the more you have on you, the cooler it looks. Sort of like you have all your vest and then weapons and whatnot. Another cool thing about this is we can capture up to 4 people together. So we have an entire family of 4-person captured on one platform. That's one of the amazing things that that can also be done. For instance, for Mother's Day, we've had a lot of families that came in and captured themselves just, instead of a regular photograph that they used to hang on their wall, now they can see themselves in three-dimensional, which is an absolutely amazing experience. I mean, you're looking at models and they look cool, but imagine if you're looking at yourself or your loved one in a dimension that you haven't seen them before. So that's very amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine being, well, I mean, I can't really imagine, but I think it would be cool if you were a police officer and you got one done for like your child, and then
Yes,
they had,
absolutely,
their
yes.
parent. That would be a cool experience to
Yeah.
have. We are going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsor. Planning a wedding, reunion, or corporate meeting in Alpharetta? The Alpharetta Convention and Visitor Bureau offers a variety of complimentary event planning resources to help you during your event or meeting planning process. Their expert team will help you find event venues and meeting space around the area, secure group hotel room nights at Alpharetta's 25 hotels, and provide you with free visitor information to share with your Alpharetta hotel guests. Visit awesomealpharetta.com to learn more. And we also have a special feature today for the episode. We will be giving away a $100 gift card to the MiniMe Factory. And be sure to listen during the episode for the secret word that you will go online to northfulton.com and enter to get a chance to win that gift card and come get yourself or your family miniaturized.
Yes.
All right, Reza. So why did you pick Alpharetta? Are there a lot of people here who want a miniature version of themselves?
Well, I have spent most of my life here, so I'm a local here myself. I've worked for many companies right along Windward Parkway, and my background is IT, so I worked for a lot of computer companies, software, hardware, and I know the area very well, as I already mentioned. So I spent most of my life here, and I love the area. So that was the reason number one why I wanted to start it here.
Yeah, I get that. Definitely. That's cool. And so do you think it's been successful being in this area?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Alpharetta is known as the IT district of Southeast. So, having something of such a high technology offered in Alpharetta, I feel that it is the perfect area to market an idea such as ours.
Yeah. And kind of switching gears here, but have you ever had one that comes out weird or looks just a little creepy or a little misformed?
Well, we get a preview of it before it goes into a final production. So if there are any discrepancy in terms of look, we'll get to it before it gets finalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be quite an experience for it to come out and then like, oh, they don't have a
But
face.
even though we have, I mean, there's always something that can go wrong, and with the concept and the technology being so new, it has happened. We've had a few replicas that didn't quite turn out well, and we had to redo it. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's always a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so what has been the most unique request that you have had?
I mean, we've had quite a few. Let me think about. The posing when for this capture is kind of important. So because especially if you're posing multiple people, we want to make sure it doesn't cause what's called an occlusion, which basically means in photography and 3D dimensional, you don't want to cause a shading within the subject. So we want to make sure the cameras are capturing the people completely in 360. So depending on the pose, sometimes an occlusion can occur, which will complicate the captures. So we captured a family at 3 kids just a couple of weeks ago, and that turned out to be one of the most complicated captures because of the way they posed. It basically made for the system to be impossible to capture the entire view in 360. So that took an enormous amount of digital editing to get that corrected. And we were so close on giving up on that, but it turned out so beautiful, and we're looking forward to be able to post that image on our website. And the client was so happy that we ended up, not having to ask them to come back to the studio to retake the capture. So that capture was one of the most complicated ones we've done. And
how did they pose?
They basically circled themselves, and it's very hard to explain rather than having to show it to you.
Did they all like hold hands in a circle?
They did, and so what it did, so they basically created a circle. So, and then inside the circle, that occlusion occurred, which the system wasn't able to capture. So we had to use basically all the images from the top angle and various angles from the system to be able to reconstruct inside of that circle that wasn't visible to the camera. So that made it very complicated.
Oh, wow. So do you guys, when you look at the pictures later, how long does it take you to kind of go from them posing to you handing them?
Just to sum it up, basically, once we do the capture, there's an instant preview of the still images available for the customer, so we can see that immediately as the customer is still inside the studio. So as I mentioned earlier, so each capture represents 200 images, and we do that 3 times. So we have about 600 images of you in less than 10 seconds. About 100 of them are available to view immediately before it goes on for further development, basically, inside the system. So we kind of preview those with the customer just to make sure it's to their liking in terms of, their facial, their smile, and whatnot. And from that point on, once it goes into digital editing stage, that could take anywhere between 90 to 120 minutes per person. So it's a very time-consuming process. And so on a family capture of 3, easily 5-6 hours of editing work goes into it just to get the file ready for printing. Once the file is ready for 3D printing, then you have to visualize an additional 90 minutes per square inch is required to print the figurines. So a 6-inch figurine, once it's ready for printing, can take anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. Now we'll do our best to get the models back to the customers in less than 4 weeks, and we're generally averaging 14 business days is what we strive to do the production.
Okay, that's interesting. So what do people use these for besides, you said, the wedding toppers?
Yes, the wedding cake topper is a big one, and surprising someone, for Valentine's Day, we've had a lot of couples, one couple tried to surprise the other one. They would, make an appointment and come in and not tell them where they're going. Or, for anniversaries and capturing the kids for their loved ones, grandparents and parents. And it is just such a cool concept that people just want to do it just because they want to have it, for themselves. Yeah. And we get people coming in with their sport gears, so whatever your signature is, if you're into sport, if you're into an activity, you can bring in your favorite props. We've had, musicians coming with a guitar in their hands, football players, soccer players bringing their, gears and getting captured like that. So that's just really personal to whoever, basically based on their interest level, they can be captured as they like to.
Do you encourage props to be brought in?
There are some limitations, so we encourage the customers to check with us before, and of course we'll always do our best to fulfill their wishes. But there are some limitations in terms of, because we have to always technically look into it as the subject being solidified, meaning they have to meet certain thickness and fragility. So due to that, there are some limitations, but we have no problem checking with the customers, and we'll do our best to be able to fulfill their wishes.
So say somebody wanted to bring in a newspaper.
newspaper, so that's very thin. We could, if you're holding a stack of newspaper,
Okay, stack, yeah.
right, not just one paper, right? One paper is not doable for sure. But if you're holding a newspaper, we could make it to, we could make that. That's not a problem. Yeah.
Would you be able to read the newsprint on it?
Yes, depending on the size. Of course, you have to visualize that scaling again. Mm-hmm. So let's say if your newspaper is, 10 inches by 10 inches, you visualize that being scaled down 10 times. Mm-hmm. Would that be readable? If it is, so in that case, we would just have to pick a larger size. So let's say if you're doing a scaling of 1 to 5, of course, that you'll be able to read the big head title. Yes, mm-hmm. Of course.
And what about going back to pet? I'm just thinking of things that I would do. What about if you brought in a pet and they don't sit still? How do you guys work around that?
Yes, that is a problem. And even though we only need the subjects to hold still for about 4 seconds, mm-hmm. But it can be a long time for pets and children, right? And children, mm-hmm. Exactly. So we do have an option for children. We can have their guardians or parents be standing next to them, and we can crop them up later if we only want to capture the kids. So that's an option. But for pets, we have noticed, especially smaller, cats and dogs, 4 seconds is sometimes way too long for them to hold still. Yes.
Oh, that's funny. And so what is next for you? Do you plan on opening another location? Are you going to expand the business? Do you have any future plans?
Yes, we are actually adding a mobile division. So meaning what that mobile division does, it will be dedicated to going to various events. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to participate in sporting events and costume events, such as, there are many of them.
Definitely, yeah.
So there's a large number of fans. So just being able to take our equipment to a venue, that is a huge plus for us, because we can go to where the customers are. So we're working on a smaller version of our capturing unit that will become our mobile division, and that will be rolled out in 2019.
And so will that be a different process? Will people be able to do it all in one day, or will they still have to kind of wait?
No, they will still have to. The capturing process, the entire process will be the same. The only difference is the unit is slightly smaller, so it is limited to 2 people versus 4 people in our studio. So we'll be primarily focusing on capturing single subjects up to couples, no problem. So it's a smaller version of the one we have at our studio.
Wow, so big moves for 2019 planned.
Yes.
That's so great. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And where can people find out more about the MiniMe Factory?
MiniMeFactory.com should be your first step. That gives you a pretty good idea in terms of taking a look at our gallery. We have our complete FAQ, including pricing, listed on the website. And we are very conveniently located here in Alpharetta, of course, right on Windward Parkway. And we very easily to find. So once you check our website, and feel free to stop inside our studio and see the models from close up.
Great. And before we go, the secret word to enter, it's actually 2 words, but MiniMe, MiniMe. I had to think about that for a second. So the secret word to enter at northfulton.com is MiniMe. Thank you again to the Alpharetta Convention and Visitors Bureau. Don't forget to check them out at awesomealpharetta.com. And be sure to find Made in Alpharetta anywhere you listen to podcasts, including on iTunes. You can keep up with me on Facebook by searching Kathleen Sturgeon, or on Twitter at KS Sturgeon. Thank you again.